Hello. Um, so you've been feeling it, haven't you? That sense that something's different lately. Like the air around you has shifted in a way you can't quite explain. Maybe you wake up and things look the same, but they don't feel the same. Like you're standing in a familiar room, but the light's hitting everything differently. I'm Anna, and if you clicked on this, I think part of you is already sensing that your life may be moving in directions you didn't plan for, directions that might surprise you, directions that could feel both exciting and unsettling at the same time. So let me share what I'm picking up on. You may be entering a period where things don't unfold the way you expect them to. Not in a scary way, but in that way where life has its own rhythm, its own timing, and it doesn't always match what we thought we wanted. Take what resonates here. This reflection is about what you might already be experiencing. You remain in control of your choices, always. This is just an invitation to stay present with what's unfolding. Let me paint you a picture. You're going through your normal routine. Same coffee, same commute, same conversations. But then something happens. Something small. A message you weren't expecting. A conversation that goes in an unexpected direction. A thought that lands differently than it would have a month ago. And suddenly you're aware that you're responding to things differently, making choices you wouldn't have made before. Have you noticed that? Those moments where you surprise yourself. I feel like you may be in a phase where the unexpected is becoming more frequent, not random, unexpected, but the kind that feels like it's revealing something. Like life is showing you possibilities you hadn't considered, paths you didn't know were available, options that weren't on your radar before. And that can be disorienting because we often create plans. We map out how things should go. We build expectations around timelines and outcomes. And when life moves differently, when it takes turns we didn't see coming, it can shake our sense of control. Hold on. Let me slow down for a second because I want to acknowledge something. If you're someone who likes certainty, who feels safe when you can predict what's coming, this energy might feel uncomfortable. You might be experiencing anxiety around not knowing, around not being able to plan as clearly as you usually do. And that's valid. That's a real response to uncertainty. But here's what I'm also sensing. This unexpected turn, it may not be working against you. It might actually be working for you in ways you can't see yet. Let me ask you something. What have you been holding on to too tightly? What plan have you been trying to force is less than #0, 5#, is greater than what outcome have you been attached to? Even though it's been creating stress or resistance, because sometimes when life takes an unexpected turn, it's actually redirecting us away from something that wasn't meant for us and towards something that fits better. But we can't see that in the moment. In the moment, it just feels like things are going wrong, like our plans are falling apart, like we're losing control. You know what I'm picking up on? You may have been operating under certain assumptions about your life, about how things were supposed to unfold, about what you were supposed to be doing by now, about where you were supposed to be. And those assumptions might be getting challenged right now. Not because you did anything wrong, but because they were based on an old version of you and you're not that person anymore. I feel like this is important. When we evolve, When we grow, our path has to evolve too. What made sense for us 2 years ago, or even 6 months ago, might not make sense anymore. But we keep trying to follow the old map, even though we're in new territory now. And life has a way of disrupting that, of creating unexpected turns that force us to reconsider, to look at new options, to open ourselves to possibilities we had closed off. Let me describe what this might look like for you. Maybe you've been working toward a specific goal as less than #0, 5# is greater than, and suddenly an obstacle appears, or an opportunity in a completely different direction. And you're confused because this wasn't the plan. This wasn't what you were working toward, or maybe it's relational. Maybe someone you didn't expect enters your life, or someone you thought would be there starts to drift away. And it's changing the landscape of your connections in ways you didn't anticipate. Or maybe it's internal. Maybe you're discovering parts of yourself you didn't know were there. Interests that surprise you. Desires that don't match who you thought you were. And that's creating this feeling of, who am I becoming? Let's sit with this for a moment. What if the unexpected turn isn't a disruption? What if it's an invitation? An invitation to trust something beyond your planning, to stay flexible, to remain open to what wants to emerge. Because here's what I'm sensing. You might be too close to see it clearly right now, but there may be a larger pattern forming, a pattern that makes sense from a distance. Even though up close it feels chaotic or random, think about those times in your life when something unexpected happened and you resisted it. You fought against it. You tried to force things back to how they were. And then later, maybe months or years later, you looked back and realized that unexpected turn was exactly what needed to happen. It led you somewhere better, even though you couldn't see it at the time. You might be in one of those moments right now where future you will look back and understand, but present you just has to trust the process. Let me ask you something, and maybe drop your thoughts in the comments. What would it feel like to stop trying to control how things unfold? What would it feel like to just be curious instead? To watch how things play out without constantly trying to steer them back to your original plan. I'm not saying don't have intentions. I'm not saying don't make choices. But what if you held those intentions more lightly? What if you stayed open to the unexpected? Instead of seeing it as a threat, you know what else I'm sensing? You may have been feeling this pull in two directions. Part of you wants to know exactly what's coming. Part of you wants certainty and security. But another part of you, maybe a quieter part, is actually excited by the unknown. Curious about what might happen if you let go a little. Interested in who you might become if you stopped trying to be who you thought you should be. Have you felt that tension? That push and pull between control and surrender? Between the familiar and the new? Here's what I want you to consider. The unexpected turns in your life, they might be showing you where you've been playing too small, where you've been limiting yourself to what feels safe is less than #0. 5# is greater than, or what makes sense to other people, or what you think you're supposed to want. And life is saying there's more available to you. There are possibilities you haven't explored. There are versions of your life you haven't imagined yet. And I'm going to keep creating openings, keep presenting unexpected options until you're willing to look at them. Let me share something with you. Sometimes we think we want control. We think we want to know exactly how everything's going to unfold, but actually, what we want is trust. We want to trust that even when things don't go as planned, we can handle it. We want to trust that we're resilient enough, adaptive enough, creative enough to work with whatever comes, and maybe this unexpected turn you're experiencing or about to experience is actually an opportunity to build that trust, to prove to yourself that you can navigate the unknown, that you can make good choices even without perfect information, that you can pivot and adjust and find your way even when the path isn't clear. Let me ask you another question. What's one area of your life where you've been waiting for permission? Waiting for the right time? Waiting for things to align perfectly before you make a move? Because I feel like the unexpected turn might be creating that opening. It might be disrupting the waiting pattern and inviting you to just start, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, even if you don't have it all figured out. Drop a comment if something specific comes to mind, because I think a lot of people are sitting on edges right now, waiting for signs, waiting for clarity, when maybe the unexpected turn is the sign. You know what's interesting? When we look at our lives from the outside, we can often see the threads connecting. We can see how one unexpected thing led to another, which led to another, and eventually created something we never could have planned. But when we're in it, when we're living it, it just feels random. It just feels disruptive. Trust that there may be threads you can't see yet. Trust that what feels unexpected now might make perfect sense later. You don't have to understand it all right now. Let me offer you something. Permission to not have it all figured out. Permission to be surprised by your own life. Permission to let things unfold in ways you didn't expect. And to stay curious about where they lead. Because the alternative, fighting every unexpected turn, trying to force everything back to your plan, that's exhausting. And it keeps you stuck in what was instead of opening to what could be. Here's one more question. What becomes possible when you stop resisting the unexpected? When you stop seeing change as a threat and start seeing it as information? Is less than #0, 5# is greater than. When you let yourself be guided by what's emerging instead of only by what you planned. I'm not saying abandon all structure. I'm not saying don't make plans. But what if you held them differently? What if you saw them as suggestions rather than requirements, as starting points rather than destinations? Take what resonates from this reading. Leave what doesn't. And remember that you remain in control of your response, of your perspective, of how you navigate what's unfolding. Your life may be taking turns you didn't anticipate. It may be showing you possibilities you didn't plan for, and that can feel uncertain. It can feel vulnerable, but it can also be an invitation to trust yourself more deeply than you ever have before. Trust your inner knowing. Trust that you can handle the unexpected. Trust that even when things don't go as planned, you have the capacity to adapt, to learn, to find your way. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to stay open. Thank you for trusting this reflection. You're exactly where you need to be, right in the middle of the unexpected. And that's okay. You're okay. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and stay curious about what's unfolding. It might surprise you in the best way. I don't sell futures, I build architects. Not predictions, just the naked truth for the hard ones. Stay magic, stay in the now,